I've been bound to my failures with a rope and a knot. And I've tried untying, but Boy Scout, I'm not. I've tried rubbing and gnawing and biting and clawing, but this rope's composition is what's mocking my might, for a rope made of feathers is what binds me tonight. My boy Samson knows what I'm talking about. A man who killed thousands, brought down by the most provocative and professional of prostitutes. You've probably pronounced blame on the wrong proponent of his sin. It wasn't Delilah. It was the lust he was in. Saul had his pride laying next to his spear, and Gideon's heart controlled by his fear. Even Paul had his thorn in the flesh. You see, my rope is tied to a wagon filled with fool's gold. Pretty to look at, but too heavy to hold and too cheap to be sold, and it's pulling me down at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm sorry, lie. More like just fast enough to make you think you can stop any time, wipe off the grime, and start your way back up to a glorious climb, convinced of the fact that it's the last time. I'm sorry, lie. See, I find that my wagon pulls me down consistently. Persistently, my plague. Resistantly, I insist to be the assistance that I crave, but I'm a skinny guy, as you can see, not just physically, but spiritually. It's been a while since I hit the wait upon the Lord, weight that drags me down by being wayward from the word. See, while I curled up to my weakness, he was pulled up on the cross, and while I maxed out on sin, he spotted my failure. I got ripped, working out my flesh for sinful gain. But guys, that's not called manhood. That's a boy who can shave. Christ grabbed my feathery rope. Hope filled my eyes as he slid down my slope. What he did, they said, was totally inappropriate, like a homeless man's clothes being put on the Pope. And my bootstraps were short from constant pulling and breaking, but he didn't give me new shoes. He just took off the old ones. It turns out that bare feet and holy ground were a match made in the desert. But this ground I'm on sure isn't holy, just deep. And the more that I dig is the more that I weep, because the more that I dig puts me more out of reach. Surely you can't reach me now. But his shovel proved me wrong. Made by the maker to be double extra long, you see, he came down and got me. But before he brought me up, he put his fiery bush on the ground to make it holy. See, I'd heard that the Father's love was deep and vast beyond all measure, but I didn't have a clue until he made that hole his pleasure. Christ stretched out his hands, those calloused by all the ropes that he's pulled, cut by the splinters of a tree, scarred by the bourgeoisie, marred for the image of me, disfigured by religious Christianity, slashed by adulterous insanity, and racked by the most insulting practicality. The reality that we enjoy our mistakes and the tragedy of his stakes. But the holes in his wrist didn't affect the strength of his fist. You see, Christ grabbed my feathery rope and threaded it through his holes. My sin in his skin, a part of him twining feathers with tendon and sinew with fibers. My blood-red feathers were washed white by his plasma. The transfusion that brought me life killed him with weakness. And yet, having enough strength to grapple my rope, he grabbed every rock and pulled up the dead weight of a dead man, a red man, covered in the blood of my mistakes, staining the proud rock's empty face, but drenched in the power to erase. Jesus climbed without gear. He had nothing to lose. The one time in eternity when death could accuse, but thwarted so simply by the rope he'd diffuse. You see, Christ's death sent the news that the captives are free. At the top, he released me of my rope of bitterness, anger, lust, and pride, a brand new rope he had supplied, treated with titanium, composed of carbon and treated with tungsten. And he showed me below the valley of the shadow of death and told me to rope in whoever I could get because my Savior, the anchor, was holding the end. Thank you.